that motherfucker?
Oh yeah, definitely. Hello, everybody. Welcome back here to Yes Express. Today, I'm going to have Dwayne Drawn back here from VisX Design Studio in the Chicagoland area. I brought him back on today because he's been working with me with our design or with our sales process here, and I've been teaching him what we've been doing. And I wanted to have you guys listen to where he came from and what he's doing now, and to see if anything like this would make sense for your business. So anyway, before I sit here and talk the whole time, I'm going to reach out here to Dwayne with a couple of good questions and say again, thank you, Dwayne, for being with me again today.
You're welcome. Thanks for waking me up.
I know this is an earlier one. I know.
I'm joking. I'm that 5:30 guy anyway, so I'm joking. I've been already up and running around.
Awesome. So, how long have you been an outdoor living designer?
Oh, well, it should not be a tricky question. Should not. But it is. Because I started off grass cutting, then getting into like laying brick pavers, did brick pavers. I want to say a good 12 years. And see, I was designing patios during the brick paver time, but they weren't like, authentic outdoor living spaces like we are now. Then we moved over to this whole 3D design thing. And then for maybe a year or two, I was designing stuff for other people. Even though VisX has been in business for 7 years, I would say I've been designing outdoor living spaces for about 4 or 5, but I've been designing backyards for 15, 16 years. So
nice.
Does that sound better on a complicated answer?
It does. That was definitely a long answer to a short question. No, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. I think we all have that kind of a story, right? We just kind of get into this business. The next thing you know, we find that there's a lot of passion and love in it, and we can just, it becomes from a hobby to a business, and that's often what happens. And most of us, I know I wasn't at least, we're not really trained in selling anything, right? We just have figured out how to maybe figure out how, when we were a bunch of friends, how you get to go to your movie or to your restaurant or these kinds of things. And believe it or not, that is still a method of selling. And oftentimes the word sell sounds kind of sleazy, right? People think there's a lot of sleaze involved with it. And if it's done well, it's not really a problem. There is no sleaze. It's a matter of helping people buy things, right? It's helping them get what they want. And you become the messenger at that point, or the guide for them. But what I wanted to talk to you today about is your transition from your existing, your old system to the new Yes Express system. And I wanted to have you explain a little bit about, where did you get your old sales system from, and start getting into some questions about that. So, to that point, how did you create your old sales system before we started?
I guess so we've talked about this. When I've been selling I have to say pretty much all my life, and getting to where I am selling. I learned how to sell. I got a job selling cars as a car salesman. And believe it or not, when you get a job as a car salesman, they do not teach you how to sell. The managers do not teach you how to sell. They put a number on the board and say, you better have this many MFing cars sold by the end of the month. However you figure it out, you figure it out. And so every month, every salesman struggles. Out of 15 people on the floor, and 2 of them are great, and you try to talk to the 2 and they're looking at you like, dude, I'm the man, get out of my face, and you're nothing. And so you're stuck to trying to figure out how to learn yourself. So everybody knows Uncle G, Grant Cardone, and how big, I learned from listening to Grant Cardone videos. And Grant Cardone was nothing like who he is today. Like he wasn't this, like he's huge right now. I'm pumped because I got on to Grant Cardone about 15 years ago, and I've watched him excel to what he is now. He was just this dude, pumping people up like a Joe Verdi selling CDs. And then I followed Grant Cardone CDs, and I learned how to just close the deal. So I never really learned how to sell. I learned how to close.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
It sure does. It sure does. And how did that translate into your landscape design business then?
I was a hammer. So I would, and meaning that I would go, if the client was buying, I was closing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if I can get the client in the face and I can drill, like, I never had a problem with having those tough questions and then watching them shake and kind of squirm a little bit. I mean, I would always be cool, calm, and collective, and still get the deal. So, like I said, I think you and I talked. I've had a very successful career from selling that way, but it wasn't necessary. Here's the key part: it wasn't giving me what I wanted.
Okay.
It was just bringing money. I was only selling just to pay the mortgage. I'd sell enough to pay the rent, sell enough to pay the car payment, sell enough to pay that, sell enough to pay that, and then you fit. It was always like this survival scraping type system. I was always scraping, trying to just get the next deal. And then what happened was it was the low. If I didn't get the one deal and I missed a bill on something, it'd put me in this low, and I'd spiral down, and I wouldn't sell 4 or 5, and it just keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then boom, I get that one big deal, and I'll sell again, and then all the money will catch up everything, and it's just a cycle of no fun, to be honest with you.
And how did selling in that mindset, for now, we'll just call it the Grant Cardone mindset, or the mindset that you were taught, how did that make you feel deep down, like when you were selling in that mindset?
Let's spin it a little bit. The Grant Cardone mindset was great for selling cars.
Yeah.
It wasn't great for selling outdoor living spaces, because the Grant Cardone mindset is you'll only see this client one time, and they're not going to come back in there. So close, close, close. So if they didn't close, so if I kept the Grant Cardone mindset and stayed in the car business, I sold a lot of cars. I was a really good car salesman, and it worked over there. It was the success that we made on our side, but it still needed to be tweaked. The system wasn't made for what we do and how we do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that, if you're looking for a once and done sale, that's not really what we do in the outdoor living world. Like we're building relationships long term.
Yeah.
And it's really a matter of, that's a whole different angle to come from, because they buy a car, they disappear, you never hear from them again. But here you want people to be telling others, we want raving fans. You want people to say, wow, that experience was incredible. Let's tell everybody about it, so that everybody wins that way, because people love to spread good information like that. So where was your sales before you started training with me? Like, what did sales look like for you on average, if you could run me through like an average sale?
Like the numbers, or just sort of what was going on? Because a lot of it, Josh, was, like I said, there's several things that your program helped. And one of the things that you and I had never discussed, and something that probably will never get discussed maybe until just now, is once confidence changes as what you're going to say and how you're going to do, you could screw your system up all day long. But because I have the system, I have this feeling of being confident. And so now it's whoever's going to buy from us and get through our system, they're going to buy from us because we have a feeling of confidence. And so that's really one of the biggest things that changed. And the confidence made me market harder. So now I know I have a system. I almost can't wait for a client to fill out the questionnaire. So I'm just sitting back, like I'm almost marketing to get somebody in the system so they can fill out the questionnaire. We can do that. So I wasn't doing that before. And so now it's a constant marketing. Now it's there. I can talk to you on the phone and fill you out better. And I know if I go to your house, you're signing. Like I know that just from the questions and the thing. I didn't have that that type of confidence before your system. I didn't have that. I didn't have that at all. Like I remember going I got this mortgage to pay. I got to go over there. I got to close this deal. I'm shaking. They're seeing me shake. You know what I mean? Like if you guys don't sign, I'm thinking to myself, if you guys don't sign today, this life is going to suck. You know what I mean? And and then I'm closing deals that I know good and well the client's going to be a headache, and it's not the job for me. So there's a lot of things that really help. And if we probably go more in depth with conversations, we can talk about the structure a little bit better. But off the surface, it's the confidence that's the key.
Yeah, there's no doubt. That's a huge part of it. Going in there with a sense of neediness, into any meeting is never a good choice, because you're going to go in and say whatever it takes to get the deal, and then you're going to regret it later. You might pay the bill, right? But you're going to be like, oh shit, now I've got to deal with this client. I've got to deliver on this now. Do I really even want to do this? Is this truly what's in my soul that I want to do with my time here on earth? And the answer oftentimes is no. But when you go in with that confidence, as you mentioned, that's huge.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So we have some people watching here. Sanchez is watching. How you doing, Sanchez? And Austin. Kyle Stevens is watching. What's going on, Kyle? Jerry's on and Daniel Bay's watching as well. What's going on, Daniel? So another question for you is, how did you used to screen calls with clients? Like when a call would come in the old system, how did that work? And how often did you waste your time driving to houses just to hear more? Like, what did that look like for you?
Ring, ring.
A lot of stories, yeah.
Ring, ring. I'm looking for outdoor living space. I'm looking for a patio. Really? Right now? Give me your phone number, your address. I'll set the appointment today. You know what I mean? That's how it used to go down, dude. That phone call would last a minute and a half. Like I was staring at the phone. Okay, somebody's gonna call, somebody's gonna call, someone's gonna call. Boom, it called and it's in. You're on. You know what I mean? That's it. There was no questions. I didn't know. I didn't care what you want. I remember showing up to one lady's house, and she's not on this page, so she doesn't know me. And if she does know me, she'll know this was the worst house you've ever seen in your entire life. I mean, the paint was chipping. The paint was chipping 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Yeah. And she wants like a little walkway. You know what I mean? And just a little small walkway going through her front yard. I'm thinking, you need to tear down the house and rebuild the house. You know what I mean?
Priorities.
But it was my fault. I didn't ask her any questions. I didn't ask her I didn't ask her what she wanted. I didn't ask her anything. Like she called, I was there. Boom, go.
Yeah. So, and how did that? I know you've told me a story about a client that would that brought you into the house to share something with you. Maybe something
I told you donuts, but they were scones. Like I have some scones and coffee for you. And you know what? I was just so happy that the client called. I sat down and ate the scones and drank the coffee, and we talked about philosophy and life. We discussed nothing about the outdoor living space. We were there for like 2 hours, you know what I mean? Watching the sun rise and fall, thinking about all the work that I had to do. But we were having a great conversation.
Yeah, so it was Dwayne the therapist, huh?
That's all it was. It was a great conversation. She even gave me some essential oils and some other things. So yeah, it was, and we went outside to take a look. I gave her a price and she wasn't buying, you know what I mean? It was just, I should have saw it, you know?
Yeah, but she got what she wanted. She had a good conversation, right?
Yeah. She saw this guy marketing. Hey, let me meet this guy. He could be a nice guy. And that's actually happened a lot. I've actually had people fly me out to their homes just to meet me, like I was a celebrity. Like they paid for the initial design, everything, not to do the work, just to meet me.
That's freaking awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. It made money, but I could be using that time.
Yeah.
And that's something I learned with you is, even though I picked up money for the job, I could have been using that time to get one of my build clients, get them through the process, get the permitting done, get the materials ordered and all of the stuff. And that's what I'm loving now. And here's what I'm loving now about it is I actually do have the time to do it. Because, you think you never have time for anything. Yep. I really have the ability to say no. Like some lady called the other day and she said, my husband and I will be free on Saturday. And I said, well, we don't really do appointments on Saturday because I hang out with the kids and the family. Well, that's the only time we have. And I just kept quiet. Like, find another time because I'm not doing Saturday.
Yeah. That's huge, man. When you could put your foot down and say, look, you don't run my schedule, I run it. I only go to 6 p.m. on the weekdays, and Saturdays and Sundays are for my family and myself. It's my rejuvenation time. To have that power, just to be able to say that and not be scared of it. I know when I made that breakthrough, it was huge for me. And I'm so glad to see you're putting your foot down too, because they will run your life, Dwayne. You know that. Clients will run your life, and the more you give them, the more they'll take. So it's a matter of setting that precedent that you're going to do what you're going to do, and it's within your box. So that's important. What were the top 3 problems you faced with your old sales system?
I think I've sort of rambled my way through not having the right qualifications, not even qualifying anybody at all. That was the biggest one. It was such a disappointment too. Another one too is them understanding the price. Like, we're a design company. Like you're a design construction company. We are a design company and we manage the construction. So it's a little different ball game. So fees are coming, like we're like a machine gun coming at you with fees right up front. And if you're not in that position to understand that we're operating in this realm, and you're putting us in a category of, you know what I mean, Paver Pete's installation company, or you mean Sam Jam's landscape, who's going to sketch out and draw some things for you and give you some ideas for free. Then if you're putting us in that category, then it doesn't work. So those are some of the old problems that we have. They weren't ready for us when we would show up. And then you would get mixed feelings about how you're operating. Am I doing this right? I mean, is this really going to work? And then God forbid that friend calls you up and tells you what you need to do that knows nothing about your company. You mean
yeah, everybody's got an opinion, right?
And then puts that doubt into you, and then you know it's over, you know?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it's super important to to listen, but at the same time, be filtering whatever you hear coming in, because everybody's going to have an opinion for sure, especially in business. Yeah. Looks like Andrea's watching and Jonathan's watching. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today. Let's see. When you chatted with a client in initial call, how clear were you? I think you kind of alluded to this, on what their priorities were, or having a sense of what the project even was. Like, how deep did you used to get into that?
Deep.
Deep. Got a heartbeat? I'll be there in 15.
Yeah. You're breathing? I'm there. You know what I mean? It was no question.
Yeah.
Yes, I literally did not ask anything. Anything.
Really?
I mean, as fast as I could get their phone, like I would ask them their phone number and address so fast as if I thought they were going to hang up without giving it to me. So,
oh damn, you're good, dude. You're good.
So that's it. So if the phone rang, phone number, address, what's that shit? Give it to me now. You know what I mean? Because I could not take a chance of not getting that. Because if I had that, I could sell you. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So basically, you would drop the phone, and they could hear you peeling out of the driveway to go get them.
Same day, bro. Same day. Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Seriously. Okay. Like I remember having one where I was coming back from. This was a crazy day. I was working in Fayetteville, North Carolina, so I was flying back from Fayetteville, but I had a job going on in Ohio, so I flew from Fayetteville, North Carolina to Columbus, Ohio. I got there to Columbus, Ohio, like around 10 o'clock in the morning. I had meetings with some friends. I went to the job site. My flight was to come back at 7. And I remember when I was in Ohio, I talked to somebody in Chicago who wanted to meet up for an outdoor living space that day. The phone rang that day. I picked up that day call. I said, here's the deal. I'm going to try to go back. If I can catch a flight back early, I'll come back and meet you. I get back to the airport early. I catch the 5:45 flight back to Chicago. I get my car at the airport, and I drive straight to the client's house to run an appointment. He called me that same day. Now,
that's pretty impressive, dude. I gotta say, that's got to be.
You say what?
I said that's pretty impressive.
And you know what? And here's the thing: was I thought I was the man too. Yeah, like that was a thing. Like you couldn't tell me that I wasn't a successful businessman pulling out.
Yeah.
You mean that was 3 states? You mean? And, yeah. I mean that was the man, dude.
Yeah. You know,
it wasn't profitable. It was not. It wasn't smart.
I know there's plenty of times in my past where I thought, you know what, they're calling me. Actually, I'm going to start again. They're calling me. That means that I have to go out and see this space. I have to go out because they called me, right? I felt this obligation to go out and just meet with them, even if they weren't a good fit. And I had to struggle with that for years. I'm like, they called me. What are they going to say if I don't go out to the site? What are they going to say if they called my company and I just said I didn't want your project? Like there was a fear there. Mm-hmm. And I had that for years until I broke through that. And once I broke through that and realized that that's not the case, you can easily say, look, we're just not a good fit for you. I think A, B, and C company would be a better fit for you. There's such power and relief in that. There's no more pressure of having to be that way, to always have to serve every single person that calls you. Because let's face it, some people that call you just aren't a good fit. Mm-hmm. But how do we figure that out before we invest the time and the money to go out and to drive out to their house and take a look around the backyard just to hope like hell something might happen? So that's what it is. But man, I love that story. 3 states in a day. I like that. That's impressive. That's impressive. So did you have a problem selling designs with your old system? And did you ever have to lower price in order to get them to say go? I know you said you were going to go out and you're kind of gunslinger, like let's just get this rolling. But did you have to lower price? Did you feel at that point to get them to move through?
Not only was I lowering pricing, I was emotionally pricing. Like I was pricing for the moment where I was financially in my life.
Yeah.
So Yeah, when I look back on it, how scary those days were. I was explaining to my wife the other day, and I was actually almost in tears explaining the pressures that I was up against when I used to run these appointments back in the day. It was, man, it was just even thinking about telling you, right, and thinking about it right now sort of shakes me. It was real scary. Like I
Yeah,
felt like I literally felt like there was a gun to my head every time I went to a client's house, and that was not it just was not a good feeling. Like I wasn't even liking who I was as a
yeah,
person. And here
yeah,
I am. I'm going to beautify your backyard. I'm going to make it the best thing ever. But my life is up. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
And that's how I was. It was pretty scary. Like every time I went out to somebody's house, I felt like I had a gun to my head.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow, yeah,
yeah. It was life or death. Every single. It was almost like I remember looking at my wife. I said, "Babe, I can't do this. Like this is not fun. Like I got a gun to my head every single time I go out there." I said, and then somebody doesn't close. Like she would know if somebody wouldn't close because I wouldn't even call her when I
yeah,
left. I would just drive home and I would just show up and she'd see me and I would just look at her, wouldn't say nothing. And she knew that, hey, he didn't bring home the bacon today. So now we're gonna go through a couple of days of trying to figure out how the hell we're gonna eat.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. So how is that different now, Dwayne? We'll flip the switch here. How is that different now? Got a cup of coffee.
It was good. Everybody says yes.
Oh, you're funny. Now, were you able to
It's
get?
hey, it's really night and day. Night and like night. Like I don't know why. I like I said, it's hard to do these interviews without because I know we talked about like this is not marketing, da da da. But it's really hard to do these interviews and not sell the system.
Yeah.
It's really not. It's really hard because we are booming. Booming.
You said you're
She looked at me today and she said, "They're just giving us money." I'm like, "Yeah."
absolutely. And you said you're on your right now on track for best sales month for design. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We will. I think we're going to have the best sales month this month that we've ever had, and I'm talking for this month. You know what I mean,
Yeah.
like I've had some crazy strong months before, but for the month of April,
Yeah.
you mean I think this is gonna tie into a top dog number during a pandemic. I mean, think about it.
Yeah. That's freaking awesome, dude. You're crushing
And we're brooming a lot too. Like there's a lot coming in, and we've probably broomed more than we've even ran appointments for. So
it. Yeah.
we're still. I mean, we're doing that scary thing that's hard to do. Is brooming.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, you gotta preserve your time, man. That's a fortress. You gotta build a fortress around your time and only let people in that you know are gonna be not just benefit you financially, but that you're gonna enjoy working with your ideal clients to be able to really bring that value. So that's super important. Now,
Yeah.
in your old system, were you able to get a sense of what budget looked like for clients before you went out? Obviously, your phone was still hanging from the wall when you left, but I mean, was that ever a consideration before you went out? And how did you ever manage that before and that kind of thing?
No, not at all. Um, but one of the things that I've always had the ability to is bring a budget out of somebody, even if it wasn't their budget.
Okay.
Like I can't countless times when I'd have a client and they're like at 100,000 and the job ends at 250, you
Yeah.
know? And I remember one time where even the contractor got me involved and said, "Dwayne, there's no way you're going to get them to spend over $100,000. There's no way. There's no." And they were, I mean, the contractor was adamant to the point where they were going to fight me.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, that happens a couple other times, but this time, and we ended the job like at 2:30.
Yeah.
And because I was able to show them I was able to show them something that was more than what their brains or minds could think of, and what their financial range, what they wanted to put in. And so what they saw, they didn't mind doing that. And I was hoping that was going to work on every single one, but that doesn't work. You still have to narrow down some numbers and get a feel of where they are.
Yeah. And how important is it now with your new system in place? How to be able to get those numbers in that first phone call and to get a sense of that project before you go out? How much has that impacted your business?
What it does is the client feels they told you a secret.
Mm.
And as long as if you know how to talk to them, like our system works, is if you know how to talk to them around their secret that they just, they're going to give you the job
Yeah.
because they gave you their secret that they've been hiding from everybody else. And even though it's probably going to be, every time I come out with a design, it's probably going to be more than
Mhm.
what they told me, but I'm giving them options. And so you said you were going to be here, and here's everything, which is still going to be badass. It's here,
Mhm.
but to really knock this thing out of the park, we got to be on this side, and it gives them the ability to say, hey, we're going to run it up and run it down. And the neat part about our services, we're not really paid according to the amount of the job. Like we get paid for management fees and times and stuff like that. So if you bump yourself 50K, it doesn't make me any more money. And it just makes a better job. I still get my hourly fee or my time fee that I charge to manage it. So that's the difference between our company.
No, that's really interesting for sure. Yeah. I mean, there is something about that. You called it, that secret or that inner circle of thought that most clients I know I've dealt with, and I think most professionals have, where people would rather tell you how much they weigh than how much they're willing to spend, because they feel like if they have that number up front, oh goodness, they're going to spend it all or more. But
Mm-hmm.
you have to, the problem with most sales systems is that they don't wait until a certain part in the sales process when they've earned the right to ask questions like that, right? That's why in our process, it's later in the process, because we have to build that connection, that trust with them first, right? And to hear their problems and hear whatever's going on in their world in order to get to a point where you earn the right for that. So, but no, having budget up front is super important for sure. We have to make sure we have that before we go out, or we're going to be wasting a lot of time for sure. So when you had your old design system or your old sales system, what was your average closing rate, if you don't mind me asking? Like, what's like on average, you went on X amount of appointments, you would get so many for design and build. Like, where were you with that?
30, 35. Then if you had a bad streak, 20, you know what I mean? Like every guy is going to tell you 35. Every
Yeah.
time you ask somebody, 35%, that's the closing ratio. Man,
Yeah.
every time you be down to 5 and 10, hoping to God that somebody's going to say yes. I mean, you may run 10 appointments, not close any single one of them, and you're going to bed at night like, how did I lose 10 appointments? Like, what the hell did I miss? I would say in that range, like
Okay.
25, 36, somewhere in that number.
All right, cool. It's I mean, we all start somewhere, right? We all try to figure it out, but those ranges, you're spending a lot of time on the road, right? You're a lot of time away from your family, and a lot of time you're not spending with your clients, the ones that are actually paying you.
Yeah.
Well, that's the big thing. So how has that changed for you now with the system in place?
90. 90.
That makes my heart sing. Man. I love that it's working for you.
Yeah. Everybody who calls, like everybody calls. Everybody who calls is buying.
Yeah. So
Everybody who calls that makes it through, and we make it through, they're buying.
yeah. And how much more time has that given you for your family and your personal life and spiritual life and all that stuff? Like, how has that impacted that?
I'm not saying it's giving me more time. I just had to learn how to control my time better. Everybody has enough time.
Yeah.
The biggest lie and the biggest conception that we tell ourselves and others is that we don't have enough time. That is the biggest misconception. And I think it's just wordplay. I think people are just so used to saying it. We have to schedule our time. Like you and I were talking this morning. I knew we were going to have this interview. And so I set my alarm clock to go off earlier this morning because I still have my meditation. I still have my running. I did not do the running because when the alarm clock went off, I honestly looked at it and said, not today. And then I laid around a little longer. Then I went out and meditated. But there was something that powerful during my meditation. I realized I said, if that run, it is like, okay, it basically said, Dwayne, you're showing yourself what's important to you. So the meditation was important, but the running wasn't. So you didn't go do that. And then now you have to take that time to go meet Josh on the phone too. So you got to start making your priorities what's important. So now, if that happens again, I'm going to make sure I get up my butt out of bed. I'm going to go meditate, and I'm going to go run too, because I made that run not important today, and that's not the key. So we have time to do it. So the whole time thing, I don't want to hear it. Like I'm that mean guy. You say I'm out of time, bullshit. You know what I mean? You have time. You got time to do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's all about what's important, right?
And the busier you get, meaning not busier, but the more successful you are, that's when you really, really realize how much time. Now, if you say you don't have time now, you know, maybe a Puffy or a Jay-Z or a Donald Trump. You see how much time you don't have now because they're being scheduled something every 30 minutes, every 45 minutes. And
Yeah.
you see how their life is, and they got to respond and move and go. We just got a couple clients call us. I mean, I had 3 clients yesterday and I'm overwhelmed. Like even 3 clients and even your meeting that we had yesterday, I thought about that. I'm like, okay, because you said something in our text. You said, okay, close the deal. You said something like sales first. And I thought about it and I said, no, it should have been obligation first. Like I
Yeah.
should have put them in the proper obligation because I had an obligation to have you at a certain time and then them, and I should have done that. It should have been obligation first, not sales first.
Well, I mean, sometimes phone calls run long, Zoom calls and
Yeah.
things. I think that's what it was. You were on a Zoom call and it went long. So, these things happen. But if you're working with clients adding value, then that's where you are right then and there, and you
Yeah.
can always adjust time. So, yeah, that's really the main thing. Now, so now that you've been working with me for, I don't know, it's how many months has it been? We've been working together for a while.
Yeah.
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 How I know you've got through this a lot through what you've said so far, but how are things different now? How do you see the future? Who do you think is a good person that would really benefit from working with a sales, training system, that even if it's not us, but just to go out and start questioning what they're doing? Because I know a lot of people are stuck in this mindset that, you know what, I created my own homemade sales system from books that I've read and seminars that I went to and something my aunt told me and something my cat said, like you're creating this entire sales system around things that you've collected over a certain period of time. And then you try it. And if it works, you stick with it. And if it doesn't, then you throw it out or you stick with it until it doesn't work anymore. But there's always, and at least for me, before I had a system in place and work to create this, there was always that sense of, am I doing it right? Am I the one? Am I the reason why I'm getting the no's? Am I the reason why I'm designing these incredible designs, but losing the client when it comes from design to build? Right? The design side wasn't a problem to sell, but it's like all of a sudden I want to bring this thing to life and I get a no. And it crushed me. I mean, I kept hearing that for years over and over and over. And I'm like, we would still build cool stuff, but it wasn't the big stuff that I really wanted to do. Like the things that would actually change the world or change people's lives to make a big impact. So, I fought for a long time trying to figure that out. And again, I read all the books and I went to the seminars and I would try new things and things would work and then they wouldn't work. And then, but now with this system in place, and I fully implement this Yes Express system in my business, and it's been a gigantic improvement. But to see that happen and now have the confidence, you mentioned that earlier, to be able to go into a meeting knowing that you've already thought through how the people are going to be thinking throughout this process, where their pain points are, and how to address them, and how to communicate in a certain order in order to get them to open up like an onion to you and really start to trust you. Because we look at the entire sales process as a journey for clients. It's not about trying to sell them. It's about taking them on a journey. And some people want to come on the journey with us and others want a different journey, and that's okay. But it's a matter of finding the right people to put on your boat to go on that journey with. So, I guess what I'm getting at is how has this overall, shaped your business, and how is it, how do you see it shaping it in the future?
Yeah, I'm learning a lot, not just in business, but even in life with this process. This is something I'm even learning, and I hope whoever's listening, and if you have children, I'm going to take this back to the children. One of the things that your kids want from you is that you listen to them and you know that they exist. And I've noticed having the 3 kids we had, there's been years where they're daddy, daddy this, daddy that, and I gotta go to work, I gotta do this, I gotta go to work. I'm not. They can say something to me and it's in one ear and out the other. I mean, they're telling me what they want, they're telling me what toy they want, and it's in one ear and out the other. And I'm like, because I'm thinking I'm doing right for you by going to work and making sure you live in this nice house in your own room and your bathroom in your room, so you're successful. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm thinking that the limit is. But they're telling me what they want because that's what they want. And the reason why I use the kids, because that's what's happening to the clients. The clients now, they have somebody who's going to listen to them and they can tell you what they want. And I'm when somebody's talking to you, they're sort of tense. I sort of feel like the clients are dropping their shoulders and they're breathing because, man, this guy is listening to us. And like the whole note thing, I don't even know, Josh, I don't know how this thing works. Like this is like a magic that every single time I talk, like even you, I'm talking to you, and I break out, and during this interview, I break out my notepad and my pen, and I'm getting ready to write stuff down because maybe there's something we got to write down. And you're interviewing me, you know what I mean? Like I got to write stuff down,
Yeah.
but I'm writing things down every single time I talk to a client. I'm asking questions all over again. I'm hearing the little finite um, things that they're saying, and I'm repeating it back to them when I'm and they're looking at me like, damn, I really like this guy, you know? Like
Mhm.
this could be dating. Like you could teach people how to date. You could, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like that it's Yes Express because it doesn't lock you in landscape. But I have a guy who does personal training, one of my good friends, and like he needs to go through the program. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you see your. Well, here's another thing too: is you see yourself as a bigger operation than what you thought you were.
Okay. What do
More
you
important.
what do you mean by that?
I'm more important now
Okay.
than what I thought I was. Like I
Okay.
thought I was just gonna go out here and draw a quick little design, give you, I mean,
Mhm.
nice little patio. I mean, it was nice, but now, you know what I mean, it's the environment, it's the world. You know what I mean, it's hard to explain in words, but now I'm empowered.
Mhm. And how has your closing rate been? You know, I know we talked a little bit about this, but your ability to take a project from design to completion, you know, all the way through the build process. I know a lot of designers struggle with that hump, getting it from that design phase to getting the contract to build it as well. So how has that changed for you?
Well, we're rolling as if it's one direction now. Like the from the questions in the beginning, we're, hey, when are you going to do this? Is there anything you want to tell me about? You mean about this project? Oh, is there anything that's going to stop you from building? You mean so they're talking to me like I even the people I was talking to yesterday. She was adamant. Well, you know, I got my own guys, and you just gonna draw the design and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, okay. But as we've gone through my process, and now she's like, oh, now we could get this, and you could do this for us, and you could do this for us. So the whole thing is when they're coming through this system, it's like, why would we put it in anybody else's hands when we know that this guy is gonna take care of it? He's asking the right questions. He's showing us the right things. Like, why would we put it in anybody else's hands?
Yeah. Yeah. It really brings that question up to them, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. That's really powerful. Yeah,
yeah,
I know a lot struggle with that. I know I struggled with that for years, and it was really, you know, it really beat up the mind and the ego after a while. It really beat up the mindsets, thinking, you know, will I ever figure out a way to get around this? But you know, I have to say there's definitely a way to get around it. It's just a matter of understanding how people think and how they buy. Because again, we're not here to sell them anything. We're here to help them buy something that they want to buy anyway, right? So we become that guide for them. That's the
yeah.
main thing.
I was embarrassed for years, man. Like, I mean, literally hiding the embarrassment from my colleagues. Like, I would go to these events, and they're, Dwayne, how are you doing? And I'm looking at, well, I'm designing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and they're sort of looking like, is he really doing anything? Like, I'm designing. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I mean, there was one year that I sort of quit and I Ubered.
Yeah.
I quit. Like I didn't quit, but I was so frustrated in what I was doing. I turned on this little Uber thing. It was chasing dollars, destroying my car. Like my left leg is still sort of numb from it because I was doing it so much. I was the superstar Uber driver. There probably wasn't a better Uber driver than me. I could work 12-hour days and
Yeah.
stuff like, because I went to the Uber with the same work ethic
Yeah.
that I did running the business. Because one thing you learn about running a business is you could be a very hard worker, which I always have been, and you can work yourself nowhere. And I think that's what a lot of us landscapers and contractors are doing is they're hard workers and they're bragging, dude, I can work hard. I can work anybody on the I could do that. Even now I can still work, you mean, and do that. But is it smart? And a
Yeah.
lot of times we were not working smart at all.
No, absolutely. I mean, work for the sake of work is just that.
Yeah.
Without a focus and without a long-term goal in mind, then you're just, you know, doing the steps.
Yeah.
So, I mean, based on your experience so far, who do you think would benefit from working, as I mentioned earlier, with you know, with a overhaul to their sales process, or to even consider that there's other options out there? Who do you think could benefit from that?
You know, I would say that we probably have to start. I don't know. I think you're going to roll through the landscape industry. Uh, if you don't have a sales system now, you got to get one. You have to invest in one, some way, shape, or form.
How
And
God,
one close is going to get you in a direction of confidence to make you feel better anyway from this
yeah.
process. Because
And
this
how
makes it work too. This is not a lazy process. I mean, we've been at this for 4 months.
Mhm.
I mean, this is not one of those things that you do wham bam, thank you, ma'am. I mean, I had to do a lot of homework. I got to call on my friends. You know what I mean? I got to role play. You know, I'm waking up in the morning and reading my iPad and going. I mean, this is a lot of work. It's not something that, and then you're holding accountable on a level that is not. This is not a game. Like sometimes when we're talking on the phone, I'm like, is this Josh? Like, damn, like, dude, smile. You know what I mean? Like, it's like he's serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think a couple times during the process, I'm like, dude, where'd you get that vocabulary from?
Now, perfect practice makes perfect, right? And whatever you practice makes permanent. So we got to make sure it's right.
Yeah,
If it's in you and it becomes part of how you think, then everything changes. I mean, this isn't just I mean, for me personally, learning this process, building this process was not just something that affected my business, it affected my entire life, right? Just
yeah,
like I mentioned earlier about like where we're going to go out to eat, where we're going to go, to a movie or whatever it might be, or where we're going to go hike. That's all part of a sales process. You have to figure it out. So if you understand human psychology, which you learn through this process, you understand what you need to say at certain times in order to get the direction you want to go. And it's not self-serving. It's simply having you have the best opportunity to help in that situation. So, it's definitely interesting, but we've had some great times. And you mentioned role play, and that's one big part of this process, right? The role play, that's where we have most of our fun, right? It's
there's a lot of it.
it's creating the environment that we can play these scenarios out without having to have your clients be the first person you do this with. So with any new type of system, or I would hate to use the word script because it is framework, but it's not scripted so much. You have some flexibility in there, but the idea is that we need to have safe environments to try this stuff out and get really good at it before you unleash this to the world. Because the last thing you want to do is have a new process that you go out and look like a complete idiot on and lose a project because of that. So that role play group as part of this, our training is critical to make sure that all of this is done in a safe environment in order to make sure you become that, that perfectionist in it, so that you can really go out and really deliver and really get the results that you want. And yeah, I mean, like anything else in the world, if you really want it, it's going to take some work. You have to roll your sleeves up and you're going to have to work on it. But having an environment in a group that is supportive and they hold you accountable is going to get you through it much faster.
Yeah. In a normal conversation in between two people, and God forbid if you have a conversation between four people, if you have a conversation between two people, I've learned there's four conversations going on at one time. There's what you're saying, what I'm saying, what I'm thinking, and what you're thinking.
Right.
And so there's four different conversations, and it's always been total confusion trying to link those two together. One of the greatest takeaways that I could say that I've learned from this process, and even in life in general, is shutting my mouth, even when it's a topic that I'm excited about,
Mhm.
and understanding that you don't lose anything by not reiterating. Like, I love to fly, like I'm a pilot. And if I'm talking to a client, he's a pilot. I don't lose anything by spewing to him that I'm a pilot and I can fly and I've flown this, da da da. I don't lose anything. I hear it, I acknowledge it, I got it, and then I roll to the next question.
Yeah.
And that has been, I mean, strong, just in my life in general. I mean, really, really strong. Like, it's hard because I want to puke. You mean I'm the man, I know everything. But
Yeah.
really shutting the hell up and just listen is really strong.
That's why God gave us one mouth and two ears, right?
Yeah. I didn't know that was the reason, but
It plays well into this, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, I think we all have that want. We feel like when we're building rapport in the very beginning of our relationship, that it's important for us to tell others about how cool we are and how we are similar and all of that, and that's good to a point. But no client is calling you to give a shit about what you flew or what your cat did last night or where you like to hike or how many fish you caught yesterday. Like, nobody cares. What they care about is themselves, especially in the beginning of the conversation. So we got to give them space, that safe space, to be able to open that up. And then later you can talk about yourself, but it's in a controlled environment. So hence the reason why that's how we do it in the process. But yeah, I mean, this has been great, Dwayne. Do you have anything else you want to share out to all the landscape design build professionals out there watching?
you know, um, Not really. I mean, I want to see every landscape. I'm the opposite from competition. Like, uh, um, everybody thinks you're competing against each other, and I disagree because if we work together and we're doing these type of, training videos and events, we're teaching each other how to elevate the industry.
Yep.
And I would rather go to a client who understands what they're getting instead of having to go through that heavy duty sales process on explaining how it should work and things like that. I feel like that's the only part that's mundane, and it's over and over and over again. Even with the selling process, okay, we do this. We're designers who design and not build. You know what I mean? It's just that thing you got to teach all every single time you call. I would rather that be the standard. So I guess what I want to say is keep these up so we can educate the industry, you know what I mean? And teach everybody how to do it and make them all like, I don't mind, it's such XYZ company was at our house today and like, oh, wow, they got the same program that I have too. Like, whoa, I don't, even though it sounds crazy now, I'm like, okay, watch what you wish for. But at least I know that if my design fee is $3,500 and their design fee is $3,500, now it's the best man for the job. It's not,
Yep.
okay, hey, I'm going to do it for free and you're $3,500,
Yep. No, that's a huge part of this. Long term is to raise the industry up to a point where everybody is charging for their design work and they're being paid for what they're worth, right? And what they're bringing to the table. It's all about who brings the most value to the table at that point. I know I deal with it in my market where there's a lot of people that do it for free because they're builders trying to design. And I explain very clearly, it's part of the process that we are designers that build. Huge difference. And clients get that. And they'll pay. You don't have your architect do plans for free so they hopefully can build the project. That's not how that works in that world. But somehow it came into the landscape world that design was worth nothing. And all it was focused on, and this is from the builders, they do that, where they say, look, I'll give you a free cocktail napkin designer. They're getting more, more tech savvy now. So they're getting into 3Ds and all that. And they're kind of banging them out. And I say to clients, I'm like, do you think that a builder has vested interest in really spending a lot of time to get to know you and get all the detail that's needed to make sure your backyard is the best it can possibly be? Or do you think you're one of 50 different free designs they sold in last week that they got to bang out quick so you say yes and they can build it because their end game is to build, right? Mm-hmm. And even though we're designers that manage projects, you and I are the same that way, we still want the build. That's really where the bigger ticket is. It's where we make more money on the build side. But at the same time, we got to bring them through that process, that journey to get them there, right? We've got to bring them through a process that they understand and that we actually, at the end of the entire project, they can walk out of the back of their house and look at the space and be absolutely ecstatic about what we did. And that's the thing, that's the level we need to work at here in the industry. We have to bring, designers up and say, look, everybody should be charging for their work. They should be charging what they're worth. Some do basic plans and that's more of a basic price. Some do much more elaborate stuff. And that, requires a certain amount of capital to do those things. But to be able to raise that up so that when we're out there meeting with clients and they're getting 3 different people to come out, which I always tell people to do, you pick the person who you think is going to serve you best, regardless of what that means. And if that's me, that's awesome. If it's not, I wish you the best in your journey, and find the person that really feels good to you, because that's really what matters. It's huge.
And I want to throw something in here that connects the strongest. And I gotta figure out how to put this in words to make it sound correct. But one of the things is complete is the word that comes to my head. I notice it's gonna sound even weird to even people listening to. As much as I've always been a success, I've never really been motivated by money. I've only been motivated by money to pay the bills. Mm-hmm. But my life has never been chased around money. Like every single time I've done something to go after money, it never really works anyway because it takes a lot of energy and passion and you don't go for it. What I would say is, wow, this is really I'm still trying to figure out how to word this. I see it, but I'm trying to word it. This is a complete process is what this does. It completes the job. It's not like I want a client to say yes for the build, but it's not really to get the money from them for the build. I want to see it completed. Like I get to see it. Okay, hey, we phone call conversation, questionnaire, filled everything out, meeting to go over everything. Now getting the contractors in place, getting the materials, shipping things in. And we're like that design company that's that's now we're badass. I mean, we're shipping stuff from California, shipping stuff from Minnesota, shipping stuff from Georgia, and it's showing up at these people's yards, and these guys are putting it in. So it's not like it's coming from the local Unilock plant and just being dropped in the backyard. I mean, it's a bunch. Like, my goal is 5 to 7 different pieces of material in the backyard. It's variety. And I got that from Tony Robbins, UPW. One of the key things is variety, my mission statement. So watching that come to completion is more of my motivation over money. Now, am I going to make money from it? Yeah. You mean, is everybody going to be happy and I'll put money in my bank account and I'll pay the bills? Yeah. But my motivation is not, the build is not to say to get the money. My motivation is complete, because not everything we're doing means nothing if we don't complete it. Like, it's like even having a personal trainer. You know, personal can be the best personal trainer you could ever be. But if he doesn't have a client that completes his program, he's not complete, and he just keeps running in circles every single time. And that's what I was doing for years. Nothing was ever complete. Like, sometimes clients would fizzle out, and I wouldn't even know why they fizzled out. I mean, they would just disappear. I got my money and drew a design. Now they got a design and nothing. I mean, now it's complete. It's going all the way through completion. I'm walking back from the job site like, damn, that's bad. You know what I mean? My contractor called me up the other day, and you know what he said to me? He said, I built that. Yeah. Like, my contractor was he said, he called me up. It was 2 days ago. He said, I was just walking that job, and he said, I built that. You know what I mean? Like, I was strong. And for him to say that he built it, like, I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, dude, you've been building for years. And he's like, no, I built that one, Yeah.
There's so much pride that goes into that. We know the pride side from the design and all of that, but to see the guys, and we have the same thing. We're blessed with incredible crews, specialists that come out and bring our projects to life. And, just to see the awe in their eyes after they're done, just sitting back saying, holy crap, wow, okay. I saw the 3D, I saw the plans you created, and it turns into this. It's even cooler than the 3Ds that you presented in the beginning. And to see them excited, taking pictures, taking it home and showing their families. And I see their wives, a few weeks later, and they're like, wow, yeah, he came home with all these pictures from this job that he built. And that warms my heart like you never understand. I mean, you do understand it. I mean, it's really just so powerful to know that. And it's our, as designers, it's easy for us to come up with ideas. But if those ideas never hit the ground and they never become real, they're just ideas. Yeah. That's how important our specialists are, as are yours. They bring the idea that we have for life.
It's also building it right too. When I used to lay paver patios, we would just throw patios on the ground, put enough gravel, put enough pavers in, and because that's sort of what we were getting paid. I mean, it wasn't really that much money. And I always say, I remember this saying, like, this is all coming back to me now as we're talking. I used to always say, like, man, I can build a way better patio than this. This is just what they're paying. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I kept believing that was the philosophy. This is what they're paying, so this is what I got to do. This is what they wanted. You know what I mean? So this is what I got to do. And now, if you want that, I don't want you. If I can't build an outdoor living space, like one of my selling points is this space is going to last with the house. Mm-hmm. When the house starts falling apart, this is either may just now be falling apart, or it's still going to be standing and the house is not. So we're way more expensive, and our process is way more in depth than what Paver Patio Sam is going to do, and that's why our concrete costs so much. That's why a paver installation costs so much, because there are things that we're going to do that when we come back 10 years, I don't want any settling. I don't want any walls leaning over or falling apart. I don't want anything splitting apart or glue coming apart. I don't even do that process. We're not doing that. So I get that type of client now who's saying, yeah, we want a guy who's going to build it. It's home improvement. It's not, let's get this right. It's not landscaping. It's home improvement. Home improvement is not supposed to fall apart. It's supposed to last with the house.
Absolutely. No, that's huge. That's huge. So, Dwayne, do you have anything else for us today before we get back to our busy lives?
I think we went all over the place today. Which was a really good interview. Yeah.
I love your passion, brother. I've always loved that about you. I love your passion. I love your focus. I love your, what you're doing for the world and what you're doing for the industry, and all the work you've done to help professionalize our industry and get us out of the Stone Age and into the, to the tech age, if you will, and into our future. So And I want to thank everybody that's been watching along here. We've had Ryan's been watching, and Robert and Benjamin and Ken. If you guys or anybody you know has questions about landscape design, build, sales, if you want to just talk about the system you have in place and how we can at least talk about how that's working for you, or if you're interested in what we're doing over here at Yes Express, reach out, direct message me right through the group. That'll be great. If you have friends that you think could benefit from this type of information, this type of conversation, invite them to the group, to the Yes Express group. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff like this in order to help our industry grow, and not just grow financially, but grow philosophically, grow, professionally, everything. So that when we get to the door of those houses, or I'm the door, first phone call really, but when we work with clients, that they're going to understand that we are worth more because of our entire growth as an industry, not just as a few people trying to figure something new out. So I see this as a much bigger movement toward making our industry so much more powerful that we can get paid what we're worth. So again, thank you for tuning in, everybody. And Dwayne, thank you again for all your precious time, and go out and keep crushing, brother.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Peace.
All right.